Call this meeting to order, the July 23rd meeting of the Road Advisory Committee. For those of you who have, if watching or here, don't know exactly what we are, let me just explain that this committee, the Road Advisory Committee, was formed. It's a 9-member committee formed by the Bloomfield Township Board of Trustees to seek solutions to the local road conditions throughout the township. Except for our township supervisor, Mike McCready, we're all unpaid, volunteer township residents. We come from all parts of the township, and we are leaders either at the township level, at HOA boards, or have vast experience in leadership in other roles in other organizations. Our mission, which is up on the board there now, is to seek innovative solutions to getting our subdivision, local roads, repaired at a reasonable cost and to get more control over them. The mission statement is broad enough to allow for a blank sheet of paper approach, yet narrow enough to say focus on the goals we've set for ourselves. We want to hear from as many of you as possible and have a period after the presentation for questions and comments. First thing is we have attendance. We have a full panel here. Everybody? No, sorry, one person missing. Okay, Dave Webb is not here, but we need 5 for a quorum, and we have that, so we can conduct business. First item is the approval of the minutes from July 9th.
Move to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so there are no changes. We have a full agenda today. We have a guest coming from Canton Township. He'll be here in a few minutes.
Good luck.
Michael Segrest. So we're looking forward to that. And then we want to also begin a discussion of the path forward. What are we going to do after these 2 meetings, this one and the next one, where the last informational meeting, so to speak, information gathering is over. So maybe until Mr. Segrest gets here, maybe we can start that discussion. You have in front of you a beautiful outline of what a proposed path forward would be. And maybe, Jeff, you want to introduce that?
Yes, if you don't mind, for the
Of
committee.
course.
What I wanted to do is, I think, as we all know, we're kind of coming to the conclusion of the fact-finding. We've got another meeting or 2, and we'll be there. And as we all know, being on different committees, that we need to start thinking about the next steps forward and how we do that. So I've taken the liberty for today's meeting to throw out a draft outline for everybody's consideration to what would be a way we could start to format or organize our report. And so what I wanted to do is start to get everybody's thoughts and input. This is just for discussion purposes. And this is how I thought one way to organize what we have done, organize our thoughts, and kind of how we go forward. And so basically, I think, we've been doing this fact-finding, and then, items 2, 3, 4, 5, and of this, because how do we then take this volume of information, distill it down, make it in a way that it makes sense not only to us, but to the community at large? How do we explain this very complicated situation and try to distill it into incremental parts? And when I'm thinking about how the township, the county state, and then get into the financing, which has its own set of things, and then kind of bring that together and what our deficiencies are and what we're seeing as the problem here in the township and what we're here about to solve. And then once we get that done, which would be kind of phase 1, we could then start talking about solutions. Now, what I put in here in items 6, 7, 8, and 9 were just basically some ideas. This is just, these are some things I think we need to address. And I'm guessing as we talk as a group, there could be a couple others. But I think in order to show that we have done our homework, we're comprehensive in our evaluation and analysis, that we then start to show that we've looked at different ways to try to solve this problem that we have just defined. And then out of that, we'll come to a consensus as a group and what our recommendation is, present that, talk about the pros and cons and all that goes with it, and then we would have what's the implementation of going forward? What do we have to do? What does the township have to do? Who are the different parties that need to come to bear to start to move it forward once we conclude? So that's kind of the big picture. This is really open for discussion. in what anybody wants to do, add, change, whatever, but I think it's a way for us to kind of start thinking in about a meeting or two where we go. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is, to me, it would be good or worthwhile to say, okay, what happens after we make this document? Who are we making this for? We're making for the supervisors. We're not gonna go out and legislate something. So
No, and we could do that, but my thought, and Jeff, I'm sorry if I jumped in.
Go ahead.
My thought is, we have been created by the
to
township
report
board.
to the supervisors.
Supervisors to the board.
Yeah.
So our report will be back, to the township board.
Because they could do with it
Because there may
as
be
they
some
may.
things they have to do. There may be some things, it'll be, I think the implementation will be multiple number of parties. And then somebody needs to take that.
Because I think the city township yo-yo, they're gonna have to be the ones who handle
yeah,
it.
and-
But I see you put it in here, but,
Well,
you know,
that's
that's a
for
pros and cons.
the second phase of
Yeah.
reporting.
Yeah.
And we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
No, it's very good.
I think.
It's a good start, very
Yeah,
good.
I think what we need to do on that one is, I understand that one has all kinds of ramifications. But I think what I'm trying to do is say, we've looked at comprehensively at the different ways that funding is directed on roads. And this is a avenue that certain jurisdictions get money, and does it apply to us or doesn't apply to us? We may say, we've looked at it, here's the cons, and it's not worth pursuing.
Thanks, very good.
To
Go ahead.
be comprehensive, to follow Jeff's thoughts, on alternate 7, it talks about become a city, the possibility. I would, for comprehensiveness, suggest village as well. That we look at that, just
Excellent.
and see that we've touched all the bases, and,
Or village.
yeah. And maybe it's not a viable option, but
Right.
let's touch it and see.
The way I see this going forward, actually, is that what we should do, 2 things. First, we should send a memo to the Board of Trustees telling them that our plan is to report to them in September, sometime in September, a PowerPoint, a presentation at the Board of Trustees on the fact-finding, what we got to this point, okay? What we found.
Okay.
And then, after we report to them and to the people, because they'll see it, then after that, we start looking at this, the solution part, and then report back again. So this is gonna be a process. It may take longer, but it's important that we get the word out that we are working. Some people are thinking, so you appointed this in March, what are you doing? We still have crappy roads, and nothing's been done, but it is being done, and we need to tell people that, so,
It's a work in process.
it's a work in process. So I think we should report to the Board of Trustees in September, mid to late September, and I think Sue and I will get together. We're going to create this PowerPoint. It'll be simple. We can't get, the stuff that we got is way too complicated. It's gonna right over people's heads. But we'll make it simple so people understand the problem. The thing is that many people don't understand it. They still think, well, we can just do it. They don't understand it. And they have to understand that in order to solve a problem, you have to figure out what the problem is, what's going on, and that's what this report will be. So I think that's the way forward. So if you have that, this is just the first step. Thank you, Jeff. This is a terrific document here, I think. A lot of work went into it, and I appreciate it, and I think we all do. But now that's the starting point, so what we need to do is start talking about what we need to put in here, and then we'll get it put together, the report. So, any thoughts, please, bring them forward. But right now, what I'd like, we can go back to this, okay? But I think, Mr. Segrist, is that you?
That's me.
Oh, good. Well, we just started without you, just to get something talked about, and now we'd like to hear if you would come up and we can hear what you have to say. And I want to say ironically, come on up.
Ironically,
How were
the
the roads-
evening
how were
that
the roads
this
when you came?
committee,
Yeah, how was the drive?
it's not too bad, not too bad.
the evening this was on the agenda for the Board of Trustees to create this committee, that morning was the article in Detroit News by Living Good is his name, who
Yes.
did it on your community. I said, how appropriate. There it is. And I brought it up at the Board of Trustees, and I'm real glad that you're here to tell us what your thought, what you did, and how you approached this. So you're up.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. Sorry for being late. My apologies about that. Need a subcommittee on traffic, maybe. All right, that's my joke. I put this presentation together because we have a video in Canton Township that's dedicated to the ways in which we kind of handled our local roads initiative, but we did not have a comprehensive, from start to finish, tale. It does seem like what we did is consistent with what you are in the process currently of beginning. So what I did is, and have you seen the presentation yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, good. This is going to be exciting.
Just read it was in the Detroit News.
Okay. Well, that's excellent. And that's, yeah, it's not by accident that we've stumbled into a substantial amount of money to fix the roads. We put a lot of time and energy into addressing it at the local level, which showed a lot of people that we were serious about the issue. You know, everyone's got their hand out, but we were putting our money where our mouth was, and we found a lot of people willing to partner with us in that process. So, it all began July 25th, 2017. Publicly, right? There was a lot of things happening behind the scenes. But essentially, we started having some informal conversations, myself and some of the trustees with our supervisor at the time, and saying, we got to get serious about the roads. And our line up to this point, which is that townships don't do roads, isn't cutting it with the residents, and it's also not consistent with what some other communities are doing. We spent a good amount of time leading up to this, looking at Kalamazoo Township, some townships around the state that had a local roads millage, and I spoke to individuals who were a part of their local roads program, their local roads millage, and very quickly had to do some internal decisions about whether or not townships do roads. People were very hung up on the idea of jurisdiction and Act 51 funding, and that was a barrier and an excuse as to why we weren't doing a substantial amount of work on roads up to that point. So we said we feel we know what the problem is, but we don't intellectually know what the problem is. So let's pull together a blue ribbon committee. We'll get residents from the community. We will work with the township, and we are going to study the feasibility of a local roads initiative. And our concerns were that we had declining neighborhood county road quality, we had negative impact on home values. Canton Township, if you're all familiar, is a 36 square mile township in western Wayne County, primarily developed from the 1970s to today. It's developed at different stages, but we have a lot of neighborhoods that have been built kind of post 1990 as well. And so they were built as site condominiums, and that's a big, important kind of distinction here in Canton Township. But a lot of the development, a lot of the infrastructure was concrete, and it was built at a time when alkali silicate reaction, ASR, was very common. And so Canton was rife with concrete that was chemically or structurally unsound. And so it wasn't just the normal wear and tear. We had probably 12 neighborhoods and at least a mile stretch of major roadway that every time it rained, it began to kind of internally explode. The gases inside of the concrete began to kind of explode and cause some serious problems. And there was one neighborhood in particular, which is known as Sunflower, is known as the largest subdivision in Michigan. There are 1,600 residents in this subdivision. And they had a massive amount of ASR. And they had put a lot of pressure on the political actors in the community to solve this issue because an SAD had failed inside their neighborhood because the price tag was $10,000 per household, and they were unwilling to do that. So they met, and they met for quite some time. The primary county roads weren't much better. We weren't really happy with the service that we were receiving from Wayne County. Wayne County does not have a roads commission. They have a Department of Public Works. That was a reform, I think, from the 80s or 90s. And we were not necessarily happy with our county roads and the primaries. And then also Ford Road, I'm sure most of you are aware of Kia. Ford Road is our major business district. It also is home to 3 of the top 5 most dangerous intersections in Wayne County, as one of the top 10 most dangerous intersections in the state of Michigan, which is Ford and Haggerty, which is where Kia is. There's a substantial amount of crashes, and there are also pedestrian. There's been some fatalities as well. So we have an improperly designed main road through the center of town. We have bad primary roads, and we have really, really poor neighborhood roads. And everyone's kind of failing to meet the challenge. So that roads task force, we put 1 trustee on the roads task force, and they met. I will tell you, the task force was biased towards one specific neighborhood, and so the outcome of the process was a little bit biased. There were some folks putting their thumbs on the scale for some solutions that they thought would be, and so I think had we been more mindful of that, we may have gotten a more balanced report from that local that Blue Ribbon Committee, a roads task force. But we did get workable, good information, which we got an initial PACER rating of all of the roads in Canton. Kind of had an idea of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we got some rough estimates on what the total cost would be to get all of the roads in Canton Township up to a PACER rating of 7, which was kind of a goal that task force kind of came up with as well. They worked with internal departments to help us. We discussed becoming a city or a township. We looked at the cost of creating a local roads division inside the department and what the total cost would be in equipment and labor. This was an area of contention that corporate structure is a political decision, and that got interesting throughout that process, and based on that recommendation, caused some interesting issues. The recommendation was to become a city by the Roads Task Force, and the board was uninterested in doing that. And part of the rationale was that the Act 51 money we estimated we would receive would have been eaten by the built-in costs of just administering a local roads division. And so Act 51 would have kind of given us the administrative costs along with the capital needed, but would have provided no additional resources for paving roads or maintaining roads. That was an internal kind of analysis that we had done. Essentially, the argument, and we kind of quickly realized, was that Act 51 is broken and does not provide enough resources to solve the problem, our infrastructure problems, period. We reviewed the county's history of projects inside of Canton Township, determined a baseline of what we expected, what we thought we were receiving. That was also a challenge, getting those accurate and up-to-date information from the county, but we were able to do that to the best of our abilities. And then finally, by May of 2018, we finally had a report. So it was almost an entire year. Are there any engineers in the room? We had any engineers in the room? We had a lot of engineers on the board, and I don't know if you've ever been in a group project with more than 4 engineers, but a year is a good timeline. That's my joke. I love engineers. But they kind of came through and gave us our price tag, which I think was about $210 million to get what we wanted done, and that was actually much less than what the true cost is. Once we received that information, we voted that night to put a local roads millage on the ballot. The township board voted. It was a unanimous vote from all 7 of the elected representatives to put it on the ballot.
Did your road advisory committee recommended certain millage, or how the,
Yes, they did,
they did?
and the board did not go with their recommendation. I will tell you,
So they recommended something and more.
yeah, they recommended
Less than that or more?
2.1 mils,
And that
Which-
got you to the 210 million,
yes.
okay. Well, that's-
Yes. Now, they were specifically looking at if we have a problem of X, we need a solution of Y. And so we're gonna, and I think the political actor said, 100% of zero is zero. And if we ask for 2.1 mils, it's gonna fail. And we will fix 0 roads. And
That
so
was too much.
we rejected. And there was severe pushback from the Roads Advisory Committee.
Did that cost that you talked about, you said it was 210 million, was that including in there creation of a road department?
No,
Okay.
no, we decided we did not want to do any road maintenance at all. That we would, we were not interested in doing road maintenance. Part of the benefit of being a township is, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. When the potholes come out, everyone starts screaming, they want the money put into the potholes. But if you're a true good steward, that's putting bad money after good, or, good money after bad. It's not the best use of funds. Road maintenance is super inefficient. Road reconstruction, we went in, we started looking at inflection points and pacer ratings. It's substantially cheaper to keep a medium road, to keep a good road good, or to get a medium road good. It's much cheaper than to get a bad road good. And so when you start really looking at how you spend your money and where you spend your money, it's not all apples and oranges. Also, like how much asphalt you have versus concrete, because an asphalt road's about 25% of the cost of preparing a concrete road. And then ultimately, too, if you do decide that you're going to do like composite roads, like maybe we'll just cap some of our concrete roads with asphalt, then we can just kind of mill and resurface every 8 years, which is substantially cheaper than actually going in and doing concrete cutouts. And so we really dug as deep as we could with the volunteer community group. But the real work happened when we brought in the engineering consulting firm after the recommendation. We did not go with the initial recommendation of 2.10 mils. We went with 1.45 mils over a 20-year period, which was also a political sticking point as well, the duration of the millage.
Michael, did the Wayne County, they don't have a road commission, what do they have again?
The DPW,
The
Department of Public
DPW?
Works.
And how were they involved with making the decision about what type of road would be put down or replaced?
Yeah, so we were kind of dealing in like the Plato's world of forms, like in the abstract of like if we were the county or we were the state of Michigan, what would we do? At this point, we don't have a plan yet, right? So it took us negotiating with Wayne County. And I've got some slides in there that kind of address that. Fixing the roads becomes, essentially we had to schedule a meeting with the Wayne County executive and say, we're gonna pass a millage that's gonna take $110 million of your liability off of your hands. We're gonna do this. But to do this, we need some assurances from you, and there's some things we want to have in that process. And that was a negotiation, and we got to where we needed to be, which is that all the work would be done by Canton Township, contractors, that the county would continue to do road maintenance, but that all major reconstructs were going to be done by Canton Township, unless there was already going to be a Wayne County project in the community, in which case we might come in with some money and expand the scope of that, or ask that we have input in the design of that, or maybe want to do some right-of-way, some sidewalk when they're going to be in there doing some stuff. So we told them essentially, what we really want is a commitment that you're not going to assume we just took your liability and said, oh, great, we don't have to do any work in Canton now because they've passed their own tax. We're going to go spend our money in Westland and Livonia and Dearborn and Detroit, which was a real legitimate fear. That was question. So we needed a commitment that they were going to maintain a base level of spend in Canton Township. We also needed them to waive the permitting costs and give us the ability, because technically, according to the Michigan Constitution, townships have concurrent jurisdiction over right-of-way. So depending on who your law firm is, you may have more say in what happens in a right-of-way than you actually. We like saying we don't have jurisdiction over roads because we don't have money to fix roads. But we have more power than we think we do when it comes to roads. But I'm
Who was
also
your
a
attorney?
clerk.
Who was
I'm the clerk,
attorney?
and I'm
Who
not a
was-
lawyer.
Michael, who was the attorney you used on that?
We had in-house counsel initially, and then we used Foster Swift. So, yeah, we used Foster Swift as our law firm. But we had in-house counsel on this. The negotiations were more political. And there's a lot at play with that kind of stuff. But anyway, so we get that recommendation, we put it on the ballot. We hire Spalding & Decker, which is a pretty good engineering firm. They do a PACER study. It costs the township about $25,000 to look at all, now this is 2018 money, but to look at all our 36 square mile road system. And we did do a PACER analysis of private subdivision streets as well, those site condominiums.
So the pie chart came from Wayne County or?
No, that's an internal one that the roads task force came up with. That was before the PACER rating. That was like the township engineer riding in a truck, feeling like a bounce, and being like, okay, that's a 4. So that was not scientific.
Are you gonna share these with us?
Yeah, well, it's on our website. I'll send the links to Susan.
Oh, perfect. Thank
Yeah, she's got this presentation. I'll send the link to the final task force report. And then there's just the website itself has a lot of that data from that time, that 2017, 2018 time period, and what we've done over the last 6-7 years.
I just want to go back to
That may be-
one thing.
Oh, go ahead.
You, back to the millage to pay, to build the roads, 1.5 mils. How, you were so you were gonna just hire contractors to do that, is that correct? You don't have a road department? And
Correct.
So you were just gonna hire contractors. The difference is we have a road department.
Oh, good for you. Yeah, that's
Now,
awesome.
I don't know that would be, could be build roads like that. However, I'm just asking that because perhaps the cost was higher because you had to hire a contractor rather than in-house. I'm just asking.
Could be.
So, and the other thing was that you said that it was consideration of becoming a city or a village, and they rejected that because of the road department. You had to create
Part
a
of the
road.
costs.
Were there a lot of other issues with becoming a city? Was that the major one?
No, so Charter Township, I assume Bloomfield Township's a charter township as well, based on the fact that you still exist and you're in Oakland County. So the real only change, well, I mean, yeah, our police and fire are SADs. If we changed our corporate structure, we would have to, that would repeal all of our SADs. We'd have to revote everything, we'd have to restructure everything. So there's all of that, there's contracts with, there's a whole host. We studied the last township to become a city and the fact that it took 12 years and involved like 3 lawsuits to get it to happen. That's an issue. And ultimately, once you become, so it's unclear what happens with Act 51 money once you become a city. Because you're gonna get apportioned in money based on per capita, but you're also gonna get apportioned money based on lane mile that you assume. And no one's done this, so you would essentially, your new city would be sitting down with Oakland County Road Commission and deciding what roads, who gets what.
Yeah, I was just
And our
curious
fear
about-
was that Wayne County would give us,
If
all the
if
bad.
township decided, looked at it and said, well, financially, we're gonna lose this, and it's gonna cost us this and this, and the
No.
road department, and all that, but you just mentioned road department, and I'm
Yeah,
just
that
curious,
was-
that was the major cost consideration, basically.
yeah, we essentially said, we are likely to receive these roads from Wayne County based on our initial conversations. The cost to improve these roads specifically is X. The amount of Act 51 money we would get is Y. And changing our structure did nothing materially to change. It like left us $0 left to pave roads, and then ultimately we would then be responsible for routine maintenance, traffic signals, and Canton is a developing community, right? We add about 500 homes a year, and that's a big strain. Typically, we can use our planned unit development or planned development district process to expand the intersection improvements in Canton. But we have a really aged infrastructure. And so it's not just about maintaining the roads, it's about expanding those roads, making them pedestrian friendly, maintaining, the signals. Also, we like to differentiate ourselves in Western Wayne County, right? And so there's some like placemaking stuff, like we like to put in mast arms as opposed to span wire, because we believe that looks prettier, it makes people have a better sense of community. They are like $225,000 a piece, and so instead of putting in like a $500,000 span wire, you've got $250,000 light plus $250,000 span wire, and there's 4 of them, so it's like 4 times as expensive. And so like to do things by our standard, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze, and just politically, there weren't the votes on the board to do it, and so yeah, that's.
Who eventually approved the ASR concrete in the beginning, and why are they not liable in some way, shape, or form?
Yes, well, we live in an imperfect world, and so decisions were, gosh, I'm not an engineer either, but I also really like learning. I'm a very curious guy. So essentially the EPA in the 1990s started playing with the chemical composition of concrete. And concrete is essentially a mixture of limestone and
Gravel?
no, well, so the alkali is sandstone. So sandstone and limestone. So alkali and silica. So when you start playing with those mixtures, essentially the EPA was like, listen, there's a lot of greenhouse gas emissions in the production of concrete. We can reduce those if we change this mixture. And to be fair, people are always changing mixtures. They're always trying to play those
Different
mixtures.
bag mixes for
Yep.
different applications.
Yep. So
One would think
but
that
the standard.
roads would have a standard that would last more than 20 years.
But so if you were to change something to truly study it, you would need to have 20 years to study it. So we found out the consequences of using a specific mixture in subdivisions and roads that were built during a specific period of time.
Because
And
they thought it was environmentally safer? to
that was
make
the impetus for
cement?
changing the mixture.
Oh,
Yes.
that's comforting.
Well, yes. Yes, politics, roads, road politics is huge. But yeah, so we hired Spalding Decker, we did a PACER study. We also, in the process of that PACER study, created the basis internally of what our local roads program was gonna look like. We had a study session on June 12th where we received the administrative roads initiative plan, this is the first year of what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna fix. And then June 13th, 27th, and 28th, we had public info sessions on that plan. And this is the township doing it, because it's on the ballot, it's gonna be voted on in August, and this is essentially this is how much is gonna be raised, this is what your tax bill is gonna be, and this is what we're gonna do with the money. We talked about how funds would be spent, conditions of the roads, and then the 20-year vision for infrastructure stability. And we chose the 20-year vision because ultimately this is probably gonna become a permanent fixture of Canton Township. Just a consequence of the fact
The
that,
village goes for a certain period of time, or?
yeah, so it was passed in 2018, it will sunset in 2038.
Oh, I see,
Yeah, we did 20 years.
20 years.
And that was I lost the support of a previous supervisor because it was too long of a millage. But I also said, we didn't want to have a really high millage and do it in 10 years. We chose to do a lower millage, which was more palatable, and do it over 20 years. But yes, the length of the millage was, at least lost us 2 votes in the process.
So was that millage, was the idea to cover the total cost of rebuilding, or was there also gonna be participation from SADs or whatever with?
Yeah, no, there's no, Canton has no public, there's no SADs on public streets right now. We have 2 for street lighting, but none on public streets. But I think there's some substantial differences between Bloomfield Township and Canton
So
Township.
what I mean is that then if we're gonna rebuild the subdivision road out of that 1.5 mil, was it just all gonna come right, that was gonna be totally free to the homeowner? Or were they gonna have to also
No,
pay?
there's a whole program here. So this is the math right here. 1.45 mils raised us $5.5 million every single year initially. Now, our tax base has increased substantially because we're building houses, and I'm sure you all know, based on your property taxes, what's happened since 2018, right? The taxes have gone up. It's good when you sell, not good when you pay your taxes. But so we currently raise about 6 million, but there's a Hadley rollback as well. So we've seen our tax increase, but we've got the Hadley rollback as well. But we're around 6 million that we're currently bringing in. We chose to allocate it to solve 3 political issues or 3 roads issues in Canton. The primary roads, the neighborhood streets, and remember that Ford Road problem we had? So 55% went to primary county roads. These are the mile roads and half-mile roads that we all travel north and south on and east and west on. 30% went to local neighborhood county roads, which are still going to be owned by the county. And then 15% went to state roads, which would be Ford Road and potentially Michigan Avenue. But predominantly, that 15% is meant for Ford Road. And there's a reason why. This is the language of our millage, which is written by a lawyer, and basically says, we want to do this. Do you support this?
And for the neighborhood roads, was your intention to handle 100% of the red ones that were in the Pacer study?
No, this is where we ran into we're trying to be equitable, or we were looking for fairness in this process. So there was a PAC that was formed by private citizens that did mailers on behalf of the millage. We used internal budget to educate, not to advocate, but to educate on what would happen if we did a millage. Canton had been trying to get a Tiger grant from the federal government to Boulevard Ford Road. We had been failing multiple times. But MDOT had committed, if the federal government comes in with basically a $10 million Tiger grant, we'll take care of the rest and we'll do the Boulevard for Ford Road. But the feds were not interested. So we reached out to MDOT during the duration, during this August period, me, reached out to MDOT and began negotiations and said, if the millage passes, can the township step into the shoes of the federal government? We'll provide the $10 million, we'll do it. This is where the 15% of $5.5 million eventually gets us right now to about $800,000 a year. We'll just bank away until we get to 10 million, and then we'll do the boulevard. We'll step in. And we also got together with the DDA, and the DDA chipped in. And so we negotiated with our DDA to put in money towards the boulevard. We set aside 15% of the roads millage to do this. And MDOT agreed. They said, yeah, we'll do that. So that's kind of what the 15% was dedicated specifically for Ford Road. And that's just because the traffic's horrible and there's a lot of collisions. And residents hate Ford Road.
So that comment at the very bottom, the trip to IKEA would not be.
Yes, I put that in. So weekend trip to IKEA in Canton won't get any easier. Feds reject funding for $30 million project on Ford Road in Canton in front of IKEA. That project now is $50 million because, we don't live in 2014 anymore.
That was part of the millage.
This was the Tiger Grant application.
Oh, I see. That's not for promoting
Yeah.
the millage vote.
No, that was the last rejection from the federal government saying, we like your project, we just don't want to pay for it. And then that's when we went to MDOT and said, we'll do it if we pass our own millage. So then we had to collaborate with Wayne County. We had some very frank conversations with them about, why their accountants are going to say we can't afford to do this, but why they can't afford not to support this millage, which is ultimately the voters in Canton Township are not going to approve a tax if they believe the county is going to abdicate all responsibility for the roads in Canton Township. We need a formal commitment that you will maintain a level of service. And in those negotiations, if we're going to spend $4.5 million a year on your roads, 85% of our millage is going to go to your roads. We need you to continue your Act 51 investments, and then actually we ask you to improve them, get more, and allow us to use Canton-approved contractors, and to, I mean, at the end of the day, you're gonna have to, I'll tell you right now, if you, a contractor is substantially cheaper than a municipal employee when it comes to this. So like, if you think you're gonna save money by doing it in-house, it's substantially cheaper to hire a contractor. But, you know, and they still charge their 10%, but it's still substantially cheaper than having a government employee. And, whew, yeah. To do like road reconstruction, where you're like busting up concrete, repouring it, yeah, maintenance is maintenance. Building road and reconstructing road. So we wanted to use our approved contractors through our process so that we could have our higher standards. And then ultimately, we want you to waive your permitting process so that we don't get stuck waiting for months for you to approve the roads that we're gonna fix for you. And they agreed to give us a little extra money. So we, this is kind of the history with that. They gave us $750,000 in year one to do some more projects. And they continued $3 million of Act 51 investment in Canton in year one. And then we created our neighborhood program with that 30% of the millage that was left over. So we couldn't put together a neighborhood program in year one. So we said, we'll do a holistic approach. We'll just go out and crack seal all the asphalt that's out there. We'll look for cracks, we'll seal it all. And we'll do storm basins because we got flooding issues in Canton, we got collapsing drains. So we're just gonna go in, we're gonna fix the drains, we're gonna crack seal your subdivisions. And the county chipped in $400,000 for that effort too. So that was year one in 2019 of the program. But we also have this problem in Canton where 30% of the individuals live on private roads. And it's illegal for the township to spend, or the county to spend a dime in those neighborhoods, on those roads. And so 30% of the voters are voting for a tax that they'll benefit on Ford Road for. And they'll benefit when they drive on the major roads. But this will not fix their streets. They still gotta pay their HOA dues, and that's gonna go towards road maintenance. So in order to create fairness and political palatability to the electorate, we came up with a matching system, which is if your HOA wants to participate, you have to apply to the township. There are 3 sets of projects, and I was initially opposed to this. I hated this idea. I still do, but I was also wrong on some things. A small project, you kick in a 5% match. So it's a $50,000 project, you gotta kick in, you know, $2,500. If it's a medium project, $100,000, you kick in 10%. If it's a larger project, up to $200,000, you gotta do a 20% match. The bigger subdivisions entered into agreements over multi-years so that they would do. But the problem with this is you lose out on economies of scale. So you're hiring contractors and you got them working on all these little projects. So like in a given year, we'll run 18 individually bid projects, but we bid them out eventually to one contractor, and all of them. And so that's kind of how we were able to get the economies of scale on that. We still do drainage basins repairs for any public road with no match. So if your HOA is like, we don't care about our roads, they look like crap, but we're fine, we don't want to pay any money for it, the township will still come in and fix your manholes and fix your drainage stuff.
Just a question. You're saying the HOAs are involved in paying for this?
They do.
Okay, but are the roads in the subdivisions that are covered by, are they private roads or
These
are
are
they
all
owned by
public.
the county?
Every one of these is a public county-owned road.
How does the HOA get ownership? How do they,
They don't.
so they just have to
They're
kick in money?
paying to improve their roads because the people who live on private roads have to pay to improve their roads.
Right.
And they pay taxes too.
So what's the definition of private road?
A private road is, so there's a legal definition. A public road is, so, I mean, this gets into like when your community was built. Everybody used to be built under subdivisions, in which case everything was a private road. But the counties got wise to that, and the townships got wise to that, and we said, wait a minute, we don't want to have to assume all of the costs. First of all, as we built Southeast Michigan, no one thought about, well, who's gonna maintain all this infrastructure? We just built it. And then obviously no one wants to pay taxes, so all the infrastructure just languishes. And then we blame and point fingers politically over who's responsible for it, who's gonna fix it. No one ever does. No one takes responsibility. But ultimately, the solution in the 1980s was they said, we're just gonna permit everything by site condominium now. So everything that gets built is a private road. The government's not responsible for it. And then that created this rise of the expensive HOA, where you might be paying $500 a month, and you have a little clubhouse, and you have beautiful asphalt roads, but they're your roads. And it is unlawful in Michigan. It's not a legitimate public expenditure for a local government or a county government or the state government. We legally cannot use taxpayer dollars on your private roads. So we had to inventory the public versus private roads in Canton and figure out how many people would benefit. And so you can look and see everything that was built before the 1980s is public. Everything that was built after the 1980s or 90s is private, essentially. And it's faster if you're a builder. It's faster to build, to do it under a site condominium than it is to do it under the traditional method. So like but that's also intentionally. Like sometimes the government makes things intentionally slow to get you to do certain things with your behavior.
What did you do with a subdivision that had no HOA?
Any resident. So I could go into my pocketbook and say, fix the road in front of my house. And I would apply for $50,000 and I would give you $2,500 out of my money. Or I would get to my neighbor. It's like my mom's on a lake up in Ogama County, and they don't have an HOA, but they all get together in their lawn chairs once a year, and everyone kicks in money and they fix the road.
And you went over all this before the people voted on the.
Yeah, to the best we could. People don't even know how to recycle, but we did the best we could.
And you're asking private people who are mostly concerned about roads in front of their home.
Yeah.
To take 70 cents on a dollar and give it basically to you, the government, to make the major roads better.
Yep.
And now I've got scraps for the stuff.
Yeah.
And that was okay with Canton people?
Well, it was okay with 56% of the
I'm
voters.
just asking.
Millage passed with 56% of the vote.
Just asking.
I mean,
Am I
look,
missing something there, or is that it?
if we had to make decisions with 100% of the vote, we probably would have been invaded by another country a long time ago, right? Like, that's not how we make decisions, right? So like, no, there are some sore losers. Some people hate the boulevard. People on private roads hate the fact that they're paying to fix other people's public streets. And I'm just like, yeah, the world is imperfect. Like, you haven't learned this yet? Like, but collectively, yeah, this is the way that we went about doing this. I mean, ultimately, we gave the voters the opportunity to say, you complain about the roads. Do you want to do something about the roads? This is the best way we can solve all of the problems that exist. Because yes, I mean, the easiest thing in the world to do is just to keep paying what we pay at the pump. Keep getting the poor services that we're getting. And then just complain on the internet or to our family members. Which is traditionally what most people do in life, and that's why most problems don't get solved. But we got 56% of the people to support it. Wayne County kicked in some money, and we officially launched that program. We created an accountability task force. We have a citizen-led oversight committee over the millage. It is 2 trustees. I am one of them. The other individual who's on the roads task force is the other person. We asked 3 residents to sit on this. I chose intentionally former supervisor who did not support the millage to be on this committee because I figured he would throw as many stones as possible at the program and create a lot of accountability and give the people who were in the 44% the ability to have some say in how those public funds are spent. So Phil LaJoy, who was a former supervisor, former state representative, and chaired the transportation committee when he was in the legislature, is one of our residents. Our former township planner, Jim Castiva, is a resident, and then a resident from that HOA that has the 1,600 homes that, they are on our board as well. So there's 5 of us, and we worked with engineering to develop a 5-year roads plan because we got sick and tired of just reactively deciding year by year. We said, you know what we really need to do? We need to treat this as a holistic network. We need to think about this long term, and we got to stretch these dollars as much as we can. So in 2024, we improved in the major road projects. We did Sheldon Road to Yost Road, and and then in the local road program, we had 18 participating subs. That we did $1.8 million in repairs. 2025, we planned on doing about $4 million for public roads, doing a couple of intersections, and some other drainage repairs, storm rehab, base repairs, resurfacing. For 2026, we're doing $3.3 million. We got Beck and Ford intersection, and we got preventative maintenance that we're doing. So we do a little bit of preventative maintenance. If we do a road project, we'll come back, and with asphalt, we'll come back 5 years later and crack seal it to make sure we extend the length of the road, so we're not having to go in and mill and resurface it within 11 years or 10 years.
So the difference between the amount here and 5.5 million you are collecting every year?
These are majors.
Those are only major.
This is the 55% of the millage. So 55%, and then when with COVID, we had like a period where we didn't do anything, and so we built up a huge fund balance, and now we're back at it again. And also, we've been very successful at getting additional funds. So like, we've only raised a certain amount of money locally with property taxes. We're still generating the Act 51 money through the county as a pass-through, and then on top of that, we've been getting appropriations from the state legislature and private grants to support what we're currently doing, which is also why we didn't need to do 2.1 mils to fix the whole problem. And we're not gonna, and ultimately, like, I don't need to eat off of my roads. I don't care if they are perfect or pristine, and the minute you pave a road brand new, it's gonna start degrading the second the first car drives on it. So you can't, like, we very quickly were like, we don't need a PACER rating of 9 in Canton Township. Nobody needs a road that good. But what we can't have are 3s and 4s, and we want to get our 5s and our 6s up to 7s. So this is kind of how we laid out the 5-year plan, right? And so 2029 is the end of our 5-year plan. This is a huge windfall, $8.5 million this year, and we're working on funding that. But essentially, so our pre-millage PACER rating in Canton was 5.27. So are you guys familiar with PACER? It's like a 1 to 10 scale. So our 5.27 was our township PACER rating. It is now 606. And you can see, if you get down into those little graphs, that the minute you pave a road, it starts inching its way down. So like how you would tackle these roads, it's like Sisyphus pushing that rock up the hill. It's like you're never gonna get to the top. And you gotta kind of.
He's got a job.
Got a job. That's right.
I'd say, but, so who decided whether you're gonna skin or replace?
Oh, professionals. We
Okay,
knew
they
that
would
could
go
not be a
through it.
political, we
They
did
were
not
gonna
want
go
elected
through it,
officials
But
deciding
your
that.
committee didn't say skin this and.
No.
You didn't get- That's too much in the weeds?
Once the committee delivered, like our oversight committee,
Yeah.
they give us the list. The subdivision list is driven by first come, first serve plus PACER.
Because as you mentioned, skidding is much simpler.
Right.
Yeah, you have to on a private road, I don't know, 5 years, that's maybe.
They're all asphalt.
Yeah.
There's a reason all private roads are asphalt and all public roads are concrete. It's because when private HOA, there are some things the government does well and some things the government doesn't do well. Cost control is not one of the things the government does well.
I'm disappointed with this alkaline solvent.
Oh, it's horrible. So where we're at with so currently we're in the design from MDOT. It's being finalized. We're trying to acquire right-of-way for the boulevard. That has been a debacle. That was supposed to have been done like years ago. It has not gotten there. I mean, the minute people see that there's millions of dollars and then you come to them and say, can we buy your property? They're like, yes, for millions of dollars. So that's kind of where we're at right there. So we're in redesign phase on the boulevard. Maybe it'll get built in 2029. If it ever gets built, we'll see. That's a huge issue. The Ford Road Boulevard is a huge issue. Other efforts, this is kind of like other money we got in. So we've got a new county initiative program where we're getting $750,000 from the county in this year's budget. We got the ASR state earmark for $5 million, and that's because our state representative is a ninja when it comes to doing the budget. He did a really good job. He's a Democrat, and he got that money when the Republicans were in the majority. Oh, no, that's a different one. That's the Canton Center one. This one he got from the Democrats. So he's still doing a good job, though. But he got that $5 million. He also got us the $3.25 million to put a pedestrian bridge over over the 275. And then the Canton Center Road replacement, that was ASR. So that was about a mile stretch of Canton Center Road. The county had come in and they did cutouts. And they essentially cut out the concrete. The problem with ASR, though, is if there's a chemical problem with your road, and you're fine as long as water never gets, so the minute water hits the inside of your concrete, it starts creating gas, the gas builds inside the concrete, and the gas explodes, and the concrete starts to explode internally. This is not cracking, this is literally the concrete exploding inside. And so the goal is to keep the water out of the concrete. So you can't spray a road because you lose friction, and then people just skiing on your road. So you can't spray a road. You can, but buildings that have ASR, you'll come in, you just spray them. Seal it, it's fine, water never gets in there, you don't have to replace them. You can't do that for a road. The county decided they were gonna come in and they were gonna saw cut and replace panels, not complete panels. So they saw cut almost all these panels. The minute you saw cut, you create a seam. Water creeps in the seams. So they spent $2.5 million pre-millage saw cutting our ASR road. And it facilitated the degradation of that road exponentially because the water creeped into every one of those saw cuts and it began just exploding internally. And so we come in and there's like no public credibility. People are like, why would we pass a millage to fix the road? You just did this project and it's worse. And so we came in and we said, look, we're just gonna pull the whole thing out. Everything the county did, everything that's there, we're not doing saw cuts, we're tearing the whole road out and we're gonna replace it. And we got $5 million out of the state legislature to do that, which was super good. We also got $3 million out of the county to do it. The project only cost $5.5 million, so we had we had like $3 million extra, so we had to put that towards another project, which is a good problem to have. And then we got a roundabout grant for CMAQ for this roundabout here, which we got a $2.8 million and a $1.6 million grant for that too. So
What is CMAQ?
I have no clue. I Google it. What?
Seriously, you don't?
I don't know what it means. It's maybe supervisor knows. I have no clue.
Maybe Mike McCready.
I don't know what CMAQ is,
Okay.
but that's in my presentation. I copy and pasted that. It's a grant. I'm assuming it's not from a government. Center from, I don't know, manufacturing. Someone Google it. I mean, I could Google it, but I lose my presentation. I'm almost done. So that's kind of where we're at. Now we're in ongoing maintenance road. The problem with the residents is that when it's like Maslow from like the hierarchy of needs. He says like a need fulfilled ceases to be a motivator. So it's why every generation kind of takes what their parents gave them as the baseline, and it's like, what's next? Well, what's next? So like with residents, it's like, no one ever says like, man, remember when this road was horrible? I'm so glad they fixed this 3 years ago. Everyone's just like, oh yeah, this road's good, and that road's bad. So you'll never get credit for the work you do if you're working in roads. People will never remember how bad the roads were. You will make these improvements, and no one's ever going to applaud you, but you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that the roads are better and that you've done a really good job.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, I'm done.
So you were, okay, we have 2 minutes, right? May I ask a quick question? Okay. So you were invited to come here by Mr. McCready, right? To come educate us and inform, and you had backstory to come. So you have some sense of nothing, you don't know what?
No, I kind of know you guys are thinking about doing something,
No?
but no, I didn't really.
You
get
don't
much-
really know?
No, I saw in the news that you guys created a committee and you're doing this in March, I
I was
think.
going to ask you for a recommendation on but you're not, okay, that's.
No, I'm not, I
okay.
don't feel, I would feel more comfortable studying the work, your problem, and then talking to the supervisor's
Yeah,
office
that's
about
fine,
that.
I just thought maybe you were down that road, I didn't know.
No, because I think you guys have a unique issue where you already have pre-existing SADs, right?
Oh, we have.
Yes.
A lot of community questions and unrest about the SADs that we're in the midst of, that are
Yeah.
$60,000 and up.
Plus interest.
Plus
We have
interest.
spoil, we have some spoil.
No, right, so can you, so that's why,
I mean, so
Figure
I
it
would
out.
assume you'd want to know, I mean, you'd want to think about, I mean, one, our township board could have raised the millage. We chose to go to a vote of the people, because we could have raised the millage without going to a vote. But we weren't comfortable doing, like, none of us ran for office, being like, we're gonna go raise taxes. You know, like, good luck finding anybody to run for office and then raise taxes.
I think your focus is a little bit different than what we're looking at.
Good.
In that you are doing major roads that, right now, like, for instance, like our Telegraph Road, for instance, or Square Lake Road.
Or Lone Pine
Woodward.
Lasser. Lone Pine Lasser. Lone.
Yeah, which are handled pretty well.
Yes.
By MDOT
And
and by the
RCOC.
county.
and
Yes.
our
Feeder
COs
roads.
and the road commission.
Yeah, the county.
County.
Road Commission, right.
Yes.
Like feeder roads, like Lincoln between Lasser and Telegraph, it's repaved. The county, the Road Commission repaved it, it's a beautiful road. And Telegraph is in really good shape.
Nice.
And our focus really is more on the subdivision roads that are just, the county does, it's just nothing there for us.
Yes.
So I admire what you've done. You really did a great job. But I'm thinking in my head, why
How
would
does
you?
this translate?
Well, no, but what I'm thinking is, why would you agree to take over MDOT's roads when they're doing, at least in our situation, they're doing a great job. They're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Why would we want to take that over? So, but you did what you did, and I get that, and you did a great job, and you get money from all places, and your roads, you've shown the improvement from
Yeah.
5 point something to 6 points, whatever. So I admire that, but I think our focus is a little bit different, but the process might be quite similar.
Yeah. Well, and I would ultimately say, even if a recommendation comes out to say, like, change your corporate, you know, like the structure of your organization, I would say research what's involved
Oh, yeah.
in becoming a city.
Yeah.
You're,
Careful what you ask.
you would, well, just the how many signatures you would need to make it
Yeah, well,
work.
we're gonna look at that,
Yeah.
but that's later on.
Yeah.
Right now. Yeah.
So I think, like, ultimately, if you're looking at your situation, yeah, predominantly looking at neighborhood streets.
Right.
Which is pretty consistent with what most township roads millages are. But those neighborhood streets are still county roads. The issue being that once the county has spent all of their Act 51 money, there's nothing left for neighborhoods.
Well, they don't even have any intentions of spending any money. They say so right up front.
Yes.
We're not gonna touch your subdivision road.
Same thing with
We have
Wayne.
no interest in it.
Yeah, which is ultimately like, but that's because they don't have the money for it, because we don't raise enough money for it, and, yeah, you know, and,
So I would see, if we did a millage, for instance, I'm not saying we would, but
Yes.
as one of the recommendations, if that happened, we did what you did, I could see a millage for that going all to subdivision roads.
I would probably recommend that you do that. I mean, to be honest, if Canton were in Oakland County and we received the services that you receive in Oakland County, we probably would have focused more on neighborhood roads. I will tell you that the local roads task force made a secondary recommendation that we switch and do 55% to local roads and 35% to primary roads. That was one of their recommendations. We chose to ignore that
Well,
as
you
well.
have, obviously, then you have a different system with Wayne County. They're not in the same league. They're not doing, not league, I shouldn't have said that, I didn't mean that. They're not doing it the same way that
I'll
Oakland
speak
County's
frankly,
doing
You are
it.
correct. Oakland County, you will get better county services in Oakland County.
Well, I don't want to make a judgment on that. I'm just saying it's different. And they're doing a pretty good job when it
Good.
comes to the feeder roads
Majors.
and MDOT with big roads like Telegraph. That road's that's really a nice road. There's no
So-
problem there. Or Woodward.
Your
That's-
existing problem is that you've got all of these SADs that are currently out there, and ultimately you're probably saying to yourselves, is this the most cost-effective way of solving this problem?
Well, it's untenable. Absolutely untenable.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a universal acceptance of that process. So, you know, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. But like you said, you have to make a decision that at some point, you know, either, put epoxy on the roads or, but you can't give up because in 5 more years, they're gonna be worse according to this disease that it has.
Yeah. I mean,
But
if you can find some way to spread that risk out,
I think it's
That's the best way to
uncanny
do it.
that you guys were able to do this.
it was threading a lot of needles, yeah.
I mean, you made a heck of a shirt or dress or something, because to go through and convince somebody that you're gonna pay so Wendy's can have better access on Ford Road number 1, and I'm only gonna get 15 cents on the dollar, me, in front of my house, so my kid doesn't have to die when he hits the hole and flips his tricycle.
Yeah,
That's a hard sell.
it's a hard sell.
Well, you're a
You know.
good salesman.
Yeah,
Somebody will.
when I believe in something, I'm not like a lobbyist, I'm not out here just like.
Well, you
for
didn't say
hire.
we were a fascist,
Yeah.
I said we were a good salesman. No, it really is, you guys should be, to be congratulated.
Well, based on that, it should be a lot easier for us to pass a millage. Not saying we're gonna do that, because
Well,
if we
just
do a
what you
millage, it'd
said,
be
our focus
100% for
is,
your
our
street.
focus is different.
Yeah, it'll be 100% for your street. Not gonna go on to Telegraph Road at all.
Exactly.
Right. Problem with an SAD too is like you're legally constricted that like the money that you spend has to be, you have to tie the value specifically to that property, which is just,
Exactly.
Yeah.
from a fairness standpoint, I get. And like, if you're super selfish, it's like, yeah, I don't want to pay for somebody else's stuff. I understand that philosophy too. But at the end of the day too, it's like, if you believe in some semblance of reciprocity, it's like, well, I have insurance. I don't pay all my medical bills out of my own pocket because I also understand life throws curveballs my way. I don't want to be out there on my own all the time. Like that's a lot of risk to take on. And ultimately piecemealing these improvements,
Well, I
you guys are
admire
probably
you
wasting money.
You were also able to get money from the county, your county, Wayne County, you were able to get money
Yeah.
from MDOT, you were able to get money from the state, and all those grants. That's a great setup.
Yeah.
You did a great job there.
Your fishing boat doesn't come home empty, which is really impressive.
But that took a lot of work too. And ultimately too, people are gonna look to be like, do you take this seriously? Because if you show up to the legislature and you're like, I want money, like, everybody wants
Stand in
money.
line.
Everybody wants something. Everybody feels that they're entitled to something. And so it's like, when you come in and say, look what we're doing, we're fixing your roads, it's a different
I've
story.
got a question that we've been looking at were the roads. If we would take over the roads, we would also have the water sewer responsibility.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah, how did you guys address that issue? Or you
Yeah, we
just
did-
did,
we
you did the
just-
roads and the water sewer was somebody else's problem, or how did you deal with that?
Well, we currently have, we oversee our water and our sewer in Canton. Storms, or sanitary sewer.
Sanitary.
Yeah, we have Western Townships Utility Authority, so it's like Northville Township, Plymouth Township, and Canton Township. We built a system, I feel like, Tom Yak was supervisor when that was built, maybe late 80s, early 90s, for the sewer system. All three townships got together, they bonded out, they went into debt, built the whole thing, and then as people tap into the system, that's your tap fee essentially. You just kind of pay off the debt. And then every community has a sewer fee that we charge, and then we have water that we charge from.
And when you rebuild a road, if you have to address that water sewer,
Oh, yeah.
who pays for that?
That gets a little bit tricky. Because, so we have like a designated sewer fund. Like your water sewer fund is, they're called enterprise funds in government accounting. And there's like legal constrictions, like, so you can't spend that money on a swing set, right? But there are times when we've used road fund to do sewer work, and there's times when we've used sewer funds to subsidize road work. Because you're already in there, you got the patient open, you might as well do stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Michael, great job. I have a comment and a question. You hired a great company to do the PACER study, because that's my company.
We still working on it. We just gave them a contract on Tuesday night,
No,
so.
I know. I'm a chairman emeritus, so you hired them after I was.
Ah.
I'm not, so thank you for that. The private road in Kent Township, is that the gated community has a private road, or
No.
just happen to be private road?
No, they're not gated, and you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know if you were driving on a public road versus a private road. Some you would, if it's like a Del Webb, if it's like a retirement community, right? Like let's say, I don't know. In Canton Township, we have 3 school districts. There's Plymouth Canton School District, which is like pretty high performing. Wayne Westland School District doesn't perform as strongly, and Van Buren Township doesn't perform as strongly. So what you see is in the parts of Canton Township that are in the other school districts, non-Plymouth Canton school districts, land costs are a little bit cheaper. the housing that gets built there. You start seeing more attached and detached site condominiums. You see housing geared towards retirees and empty nesters, which is really cool about Canton. It was very intentional about being able to age in place. You potentially could move into Canton and buy a single-family home that's 1,400 square feet, and raise a couple kids, and then you could move as you get more financially stable into like a Toll Brothers house if you're very successful and you could afford a larger lot, larger square footage. And then when your kids go off to college, you can sell that home and you can buy either a Del Webb like from Pulte, or you can get into like a smaller one. In those areas you start seeing, in those sections of Canton Township, you see a lot more those that are condominiums in the sense that it's a condo. But a site condominium could also look like any other subdivision. So you really have to know how they are permitted through, I think, the county. And I don't know. So they're not gated, there's no way of telling. Some of the site condominiums will have like, especially if it's like a senior, if it's a retiree community, they'll have a sign that says like, no peddlers, no trespassing. Like they'll have those signs up, and they'll be like, you can't come in here. It's a private road. They're legally allowed to do that.
And what about gravel roads? Kenton had any gravel
Oh
roads?
yeah, gosh, we still do.
So
So
this-
we are not paving roads. I think we'll pivot. At year 10 in the millage, we want to do a relook and say, where are we at? Because things have changed. A lot has changed since we started this process. So we want to be like, what do we want to do going forward? One of them will probably be paving some roads. We have natural beauty roads in the west part of Canton, which is on the border of Washtenaw County. We kind of want to keep those maybe more rural. We don't necessarily want to pave those for like 3 or 4 people who live in gigantic houses. But there are sections of Canton Township that don't have good infrastructure. And so as an economic development tool, paving those roads and putting in storm sewer, where
They are
it's not just a
participating
ditch.
in the millage.
What's that?
People who live in gravel road are.
They're paying the millage.
Paying the millage.
That's right.
Right.
They're paying the millage. Yeah,
They can drive on Ford Road.
they get to drive on Ford, they get to drive on all the other roads. Yeah, life's not fair. I don't know what to tell, I mean, life is just, you're never gonna have fairness if you, like, true fairness. But yes, we probably will look at doing some pavements, which would have a huge benefit because those are also areas of the township that are like rental. A lot of rental units in there. There's a lot of there's duplexes. Single-family homes have been converted into rentals. It's like there's things we would like to see in that section of town. Paving the roads will probably be the first step in that changeover.
Thanks very much. This is great information. Because
Thank you.
really, thank you for coming. Really appreciate what you've shown us.
Yeah,
Very good. Thank you.
I love it.
All right, before we do anything else,
Boy, that's unusual in itself.
You love compliment?
Thank you, Michael.
thanks a lot.
Michael,
I want to open this up for public comment. Did you have anything you wanted to comment on? Sure. Well, come on up to the podium, your name and address. We have 3 minutes. You're the only one here, but.
My name is David Miles, and I live at 6514 Castle Drive. And I sent a letter to Mr. McCready a couple months ago about our road, and I was a little bit apprehensive about my presentation to him because I gave him a bag of our road.
Yeah, we thought it was
This
brown.
is Castle Drive.
I thought there was a package of brownies.
Yeah, we thought it was brownies at
Yeah,
first.
I thought it was a package of brownies.
So I appreciate the effort you're all making to solve the road problem in the township. I think this gentleman maybe kind of laid out a plan how we could do this. He's talking about big infrastructure roads. I agree with you. I think the county and the county main roads has been doing a pretty good job. But in my experience with the county, they're pretty obtuse when it comes to residential roads.
That's an understatement.
Somehow, the township has got to straighten out Oakland County Road Commission. Don't ask me how. I know that there's a lot of sharp people here right here, but somehow, even if you just said to the county, okay, well, if you don't want to fix the roads, give us the money and we'll fix them. I do think that if you were to talk about a millage for roads, I'm pretty confident that if you laid out the plan properly and give the voters an inventory of the roads that are going to be fixed, I think it would probably pass. Because most of, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think most of the roads in the township are blacktop. I mean, there are some streets that are concrete, but most of them are blacktop. It's not that difficult to repave a road. You might have to mill it or take it up with a dozer, but we're not talking about redoing major infrastructure on these roads. We're just talking about paving them. And our road is in very bad condition. I know other parts of the township have very bad roads. Although I have seen, and in fact, on our street, the township repaved parts of Castle Drive a few years ago. I'm only asking that you repave the first 300 or 400 feet of Castle Drive that's in terrible condition. But I would support any kind of a plan that you come up with to have a millage to fix the township roads that need to be fixed, because a lot of them are an absolute mess, including ours. So I thank you for doing this. I think this gentleman had a good plan for a big road, but I think if you worked around his plan for the township roads, I think you can be successful at it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate those comments, yeah.
Okay.
Are you sure those aren't meteors?
What's that?
Those rocks aren't
No. These do play hell on lawnmowers.
Yeah.
Bicycle tires too.
And particularly our road, there's a blind man who lives on our street who uses a cane to walk, okay? And there is no edge on a good part of the road, so it's a pretty dangerous situation.
That's evident throughout the township.
Beg your pardon?
I said, that's evident, what you're showing. I have it in front of my house, they have, every one of these people have it in front of their house, same thing.
Yeah.
That's what it
It's
is.
just dangerous, that's the bottom line.
It's dangerous,
Yeah.
and it needs to be, so that's what we're looking at.
That's what we're looking at.
Right. Well,
Not
I
any one
appreciate your-
individual road, but the township altogether.
Right.
Plan for the whole township,
I
so,
appreciate the effort that you're making, and
well, thank you very much.
good luck. Thank you.
Mr.
All right, sure.
The CMAC,
Yeah.
Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Improvement Program.
Wow.
It's a federal program that provides funding for transportation projects aimed at reducing air pollution in areas struggling with air quality issues.
And they got money to do the roads from that.
Yeah, for a roundabout.
Well, whoever writes their grants does a pretty good job, huh?
Yeah.
Well, remember though, they're getting money for main roads, right? Ford Road,
Yes,
Michigan Road.
yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So they qualify for these
Right.
programs.
That's why I said his.
It was
his
a
focus is a lot
roundabout, so
different
that-
than ours.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, what the road commission actually does a nice job, and they push the roundabouts now, which can be controversial.
Well,
Right.
we don't really have it, well, we might, okay. You know what I want to do, though? I want to spend just a couple of more minutes, I know this is going over, but to go back to what we started talking about, the plan.
Can I
Any
inject one
go right
comment? Kenton Township is in Wayne County, but Independence Township did similar thing in passing the millage for their road improvement. And I wonder whether we have information from them, because they're more relevant to Bloomfield Township, being in Oakland County. They work with Oakland County Road Commission. They passed their special millage, and I'm just kind of curious
Yeah,
as to.
well, I don't know that we have anything. Maybe, Mike, you think we could just take a quick look and see if there's anything there?
Yeah, we'll do
All
it.
right.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's okay, that's fine. But again, back to this plan. Anybody have any thoughts on that? I didn't want to just shut everybody off.
Would you send it to us electronically?
Yes,
Okay, I would love to.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, if you send a Word document or.
Well,
Google
we have,
something,
it's
we
just
can-
this, all we
can
have
put
right
our
now
comments.
is this,
That'd
this
be
is
good.
it.
We could
Yeah.
comment, we can put our.
Okay,
comments.
good. Yeah, like, we don't, I don't think we had any plans of getting it, solving any of this tonight, getting anything. But this is just the direction I think that we wanted to go. Jeff put this forward, and I think it's a great direction.
I can send the Word document to Sue if you want to redline it or something. I'll send it to her.
This, we're gonna present this in September, right? So
Well,
we got a little bit of time.
The first thing we want to do is we want to go to, maybe perhaps even the next Board of Trustees meeting and say to them, we will have this in September. We've been working hard. We're going to have something, a report for you in September. Just so that they know that we're not just,
Yeah, this
we
is
haven't
what we've been
forgotten
doing.
them, that's all.
Right.
Just a quick statement. Maybe you could just say that we're just
Right.
working. We've been working every other week, and we'll have a full report on the information part of it in September.
Right.
That's the plan.
Oh, okay.
Right? Is that okay?
Right, and then our next
That's ideal.
speaker is
Jeff,
going to
go
be
ahead. Oh, I'm
Donnie
sorry,
Steele.
go ahead.
Our next, who's our state representative, who's chairs an appropriations transportation, so we'll be able to
Apparently.
ask about
That'll
the
be
dollars.
That'll be interesting.
Apparently,
Jeff, you want to have your...
we'll see if she,
Yeah, the other thing,
That'll work
I'll
for
send
us
out, I'll
this
send
time.
out the Word, or have Sue send out the Word, and you can
Yeah, it's a very
redline
good
it.
job. It's a two full page of information, so I think it'll be good to kind of
Yeah.
improve it.
But what I'm thinking about, or what I'd like to have the committee consider, is at our next meeting, we kind of need to know how to move this forward. Let's say, we come back and say, tweak this, change that, add that, take that out. But then what we have to decide is how we're going to gather the information and then how the report's going to be written. And, Mike, you might have a suggestion on how it gets finally written.
Yeah, I think I talked to Sue, she's going to work with us on creating the outline and put in the PowerPoint presentation and help us develop it, that we can then take to the Board of Trustees.
Yeah, so if Sue's kind of going to be our scribe or our editor,
She's our clerk.
what we should do is, and we can divvy up the meetings, the next couple of meetings, and say, like, we'll take the first two. And then we all need to bring, in my opinion, our thoughts and ideas, and then let Sue then put it into a document of some type. So we just need to kind of show how we're going to work through this so we can get to September, the end of September, and have a way of kind of knocking it off. So maybe we can decide on that, how that works at our next meeting. And then we need, what I see happening is everybody provides their input, and then it kind of distills down and Sue
Well, what we
takes
can
that.
do, we have a speaker, Danny Steele.
Donnie.
Huh?
Donnie.
Done, sorry. Okay. And then on second in the agenda, again, have this again, but just the first few, like you suggest.
And figure out
We
how
can do
we're going to
that.
move it forward
Right.
into a document, how we get ideas and how ideas gets translated into a written document.
should, should we ask her there's two ways to get a legislator to come to talk to you. One is to, she's gonna make some flowery thing. I'd like to be able to ask her pointed questions, like, what in reality is the likelihood that, is this a pipe dream for us to think that we're gonna have some cooperation between the legislature and this whatever, Public Act 51?
There's no reason why you can't ask them pointed questions, as long as
Yeah.
they're, I'm hoping.
Well, I do it respectfully, and
Not
I'm not gonna say, she wasn't even born then, I think.
Not confrontational stuff, that's all. Hopefully it's for information.
I was born the year after.
Can I just, for the next speaker, the road commission had an article on the Act 51, and there is a editorial in Crane Business on Act 51 as well. They're both on the opposite end of it.
Oh, that would be good to look at.
And
I don't get
think it'd be good for
cranes.
the committee to look at that, so
Oh, I
maybe
didn't see
Sue
that.
can pull it out and send it to us before
Yeah.
Okay.
legislature comes.
Yeah, I'll ask her about that. When was that in Cranes, you recall, Jay?
I don't know exact date,
Or,
but,
this year sometime.
yeah,
Okay.
sometime in June, I think.
So that would be
And then road commission
That's really
in their
the-
newsletter, they had an article
the
about.
root of all the
51.
problem.
Whose newsletter is that?
Road commission.
Road Commission?
Well, they don't, but they don't even have a conduit.
That'd be good. All right,
So we
okay.
get a little more educated.
Yeah,
when
I
we-
think
It's a lot
so.
of ducking.
I think we had a great meeting, this was a good meeting.
What did it
Got
say?
a lot
Turtle.
accomplished.
There's a lot of
Chairman,
turtle
I
going on.
have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know how township board or people who sit on this podium look at this, your neck can get, both, you can't
there.
read that.
Well, no, isn't it available here too?
No, it's not.
Oh.
No, but I can talk to IT about it. All these are, the setup is to show you the
Oh, I see.
The agenda.
agenda. But
Well, it's IT should have more stuff to do.
I'll talk to IT about maybe we just don't want to have access. So when you're up there, you're not even
Isn't it
supposed to
the
be
same on
touching
that
your,
board as this
your
one?
cell phone. You're not supposed to be
That
communicating
and
with
this
Well, I didn't
Same.
believe I saw it. That's good.
That one there.
Right.
I know, I,
But, you know, these
Some of
chairs,
the
Jay,
little-
these chairs do turn all the way around too, so if you want.
All right.
Comfortable.
So I
think we-
wasn't supposed to look that up?
No, you,
Oh, no, you
you
didn't.
can, but this, not as much as this, but the Board of Trustees, when we're up there, we're not supposed to really be touching our phones, communicating with anybody.
Yeah, just paying attention.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
All right.
I move that we
Good job
Adjourn.
looking that up.
adjourn.
Okay, very good. Thank you all, thank you very much. Good meeting.